Hello, and in this quick video I want to cover, if you remember during lockdown when the pastors, even though the churches were not open, the pastors were begging for tithes, and they created an app so you could still continue paying your tithes while you were struggling to make ends meet. The nurses were also struggling to make ends meet, but still they woke up, they went to work next to the during the COVID pandemic, putting their lives in danger. And their only reward was superficial clapping. People were bored. So, last year or 2 years ago, going outside and clapping, that was the next best thing to a nightclub. So that the heart wasn't there, because as soon as the clapping stopped, the nurses and doctors faced, further abuse, from these ungrateful wretches who conveniently totally forgotten the sacrifices that the nurses and doctors and the NHS workers has made during the pandemic. And so to the government. The government were promising that, just like in the New World Order, Ferry Grove, when the people went to war, and the government in the New World Order says, when you come back, we will give you a happy pension, etc. We will give you lovely homes. And the poor animals lost their lives. And when those who were wounded came back, only to find out the government lied to them. Okay? It's the same thing. The people in power, the power structure, whether it's the church, whether it's the government, they are there to lie and to deceive you. They're not there to teach you the truth or to share honest policy, but rather to just tell you untruths. What the biggest untruths and blatant cheek. This is the same government that thought this is how they insult your intelligence. When Boris Johnson, a privately educated individual who specialized in the classics, went on television and spoke about peppered pigs to business people. This is how they see you, as talking about peppered pigs. And the same government using that same tone of scorn, saying to the nurses, don't ask for a pay rise. Think about Russia. Think about Russia. They can pay themselves a pay rise. They can look after multinational companies. They can keep you in debt by making sure they protect the energy companies. But you must sacrifice yourself and think of Russia. In other words, up yours, Russia. Let me starve. Let me use the food banks, using a false sense of patriotism. Notice, they never sacrifice, they never patriotic, but you must starve and your children must starve in the name of superficial and false patriotism. Notice, this is the games that they play. In other words, they don't want to give the nurses and doctors a pay rise. They never wanted to. But now they have a golden goose there with a golden egg. An excuse. The perfect ammunition. Oh, we'll do. I know how people work. Let's hope they sat up at night thinking about this. How can we prevent not giving the nurses and doctors any money? How? I know we'll do. We'll appease to people's lower sense of intelligence. We'll say, do it for Russia. How patronizing. How cheeky. Nurses are eating at food banks. They're doing 80 hours a week, 60 hours a week, and you're telling them they got mortgages to pay. They got rent to pay. And with the cost of living, you're telling them the best thing they can do is keep it up a lip. Keep it stiff upper lip. Be British and starve and expect nothing from your government. But don't worry, you're doing it for Russia. No, you're not doing it for Russia. It has nothing to do with Putin. British politics has nothing to do with Russia. Whether it's a voting, whatever, it's to do with the corrupt British government who are self-serving and care only about the rich. And the quicker that the poor masses get to know this, is the more the revolution will be inevitable. The worst that the Tory government said to the nurses was, don't go on strike, don't go on strike, think of the patients. Really? It was under a Tory government that hundreds, I think probably thousands of people died under a Tory government. Because they told these people there's nothing wrong with you. People with one leg and two legs, people with cancer, people who are dying, and the Tory government are using the same witchcraft against these nurses. Oh, something, think about the patients. They forget, they know people got short-term memory. That's why the government played these kind of games. So do the pastors. They know you got short-term memory, and that's why they do it. That's why they got so much power. If you remember the tricks and the lies and deceit that they get up to, they could not manipulate you so easily. Now they're using a false sense of patriotism. Starve, put up and shut up, and keep a stiff upper lip. And don't forget, in the process, think of Russia. You're doing it for Russia. No. You're doing it for the British establishment. They've never taken the NHS seriously. The Russia scandal or whatever, this is just an excuse. It has nothing to do with Putin. Nothing at all. Nurses eating at the food banks has nothing to do with Putin. Because when Russia's problem sorted out, they'll blame somebody else. If Russia and Ukraine got sorted out tomorrow night, what other excuse are they going to make in order not to pay nurses? It's because they know people are thick. It's because they know people are stupid. I'm trying to find that book that I was quoting from. This is the book. This is the book, The New World Order. This is the book, The New World Order. Right, how they calm people, calm the animals. Go to war, we'll look after you, we'll take care of you. An illegal war. And when the animals went to war and lost their limbs, their lives, and they came back and they realized they were fighting an illegal war for the rich and the multinational companies. It's the same. You gotta wake up. Stop letting the government, make mincemeat of your brain. Stop renting them the space in your mind. Start to think.